We all have before our eyes a better future dangling beyond the horizon, and the Patapon are restless to pay any price to get there. It is the only thing they desire, and to gaze at it is their only wish. You, the player, as their almighty, are in charge to beat the drums that motivates them into a trance that can overcome any obstacle. But will you really get them there? This one thing is the leitmotif of this story, which is put pretty center stage, even more so later on, in this unique rhythm game where you use certain drum combinations to command your army. This game was an absolute gem to own on the PSP back in the day. And after playing Patapon 1 and 2, I have to say, I have conflicting feelings about it. As much as I played Patapon 2 the most by far 10 years ago, I find Patapon 1 to hold truest to what makes the game good. And considering I have only played the demo of Patapon 3, I think you might already know where I'm going with this. But I'll try to not get ahead of myself here and start with this game from the beginning. The Patapon are a tribe that has had a glorious past from which they have fallen, apparently conquering huge foes and claiming vast territory. And now, with them existing on the brink of their collective despair, you, the player, are infusing back a spark of life into them using the drums. I love this type of storytelling. It's something I think I haven't come across before when I first played it, where it sort of breaks the fourth wall, yet still contextualizes you as part of the story. And considering you quite literally are in control of all their moves, it really makes sense that you would be such an influential figure in this universe. They gather together and are overjoyed at your return, and we are sent on various missions, with the constant long-awaited end in sight to get to Earthend and gaze at it, in order to receive eternal contentment. We learn that if we travel away from our village, Patapolis, we have been walled in fortifications built by another tribe, the Zigotons. These red and square looking figures want to suppress us at all costs, because according to their legend, if the Patapons would ever reach Earthend and gaze at it, the Zigoton civilization would end in destruction. So naturally, they fight against our advances. But exactly in the same way they are one-sided and convinced of needing to stop us, the Patapons are convinced that they need to reach Earthend and gaze at it. This clash of opposites is to me an incredibly interesting thing to think about, and as the story reveals itself, I remember even as a kid wondering, should the Patapons even be doing this? Sure, the Zigotons look red and spiky, but it doesn't seem like they're just cruel. There's a moment where Makaton loses Aiton, and if you know the story, he becomes consumed by rage through that experience. It seems like the Patapons don't really have any way to communicate with the Zigotons. And when one of their leaders, Gong, tries to make a deal, well, we as the Almighty are left no choice but to Patapon our way in there. There is only the attack command for us to really advance. There is no diplomacy command. At one point, Maiden, the priestess of the Patapon, who is the link of communication between us, the Almighty, and the rest of the Patapons, doubts whether we should even be so single-minded in trying to reach Earthend. The Zigotons also seem to be quite technologically advanced, but in the Patapons there exists absolutely no curiosity to learn anything about them. Are the Patapons naive for wanting to fulfill their wish? The only reason they seem to be doing this is because they want to restore some ancient forgotten glory, so they are pretty much just pathologically acting out in amnesia. Our advance continues to fuel the fire to bring out the worst in the Zigotons as well, as they are starting to get desperate and trying to summon demons to try to restrict us, as well as bringing out technology exclusively useful for war. Their civilization, consisting of houses, castles, and even machines, is crumbling because of us leading the Patapons to their restless end goal that is dangling in front of their eye. And in the end, their ultimate leader, Queen Karma, is now selling her soul to summon a demon that had brought destruction to the world before. In the background we see this strange black mask over the horizon sky, and I really don't know what this is, but I'll get to it again later. After we beat this worthy final boss, we finally reach what we have always longed for, to reach Earthend and gaze at it. Longingly we await this miracle to give the Patapons eternal contentment, and as they scream in pain from being blinded, looking at the solar-looking face, they notice, this isn't it. Queen Karma appears, and just as she had told them, they were naive in their wish, and all that came to greet them is the morning sun. That was underwhelming, but after all, this game is clearly being set up for a sequel. We're now building a ship with the Zigotons and prepare ourselves to cross the ocean, continuing our journey to Earthend and wish to gaze at it. About that thing again real quick, is this supposed to eclipse the sun or something? I mean, it looks like it has two eyes as well, right? Anyway, I don't know. On we go to the next game. One could even say the real game. We get another intro sequence, now looking more like a children's book than an ancient recorded legend. describing that we have met with an unknown sea monster which destroyed our ship, and we now, yet again, give our assistance as the Almighty to the Patapon in need. After settling in the exact same village that exists on this side of the ocean as well, we come across someone stuck under a giant rock. He's masked, and with the help of the dragon Dodonga, unseal him and get his help to rid us from the dragon. This is Hero, and he will lead our army as a stronger ally with special abilities. We can name him, and because of this, he is subordinate to us. We build up our army, and we rush into the base of some civilization, and lo and behold, it's Gong. Or at least it seems it is. This time with a mask, but not for long. He throws it off and we get into a little bit of a fight. He seems to have revived somehow, and as we continue on attacking, we now face more masked figures, and the Zigotons escape. We get the need for a rain miracle again, and Gong teaches us how to use this juju this time. We come to face Gong and the Zigotons yet again, but are told that they're apparently not our enemies, and that it is those masked fools. These are the Carmen, and they become our new main antagonists, who seem to be just hungry for power. I guess the whole questioning ourselves has faded a bit this time, because the Carmen really offer no means of sympathy hiding behind their masks. But we storm heaven, so that's cool. And there's tons of loot. Nice. Oh, and you can now evolve each Patapon with the streamlined Rarepon system. Oh, not now, Ricky. I'll talk about the gameplay aspects more so later on though. We go into the Sky Castle of the Gods and fight the Carmen, who this time seem to have allied with Black Hoshipon, who is the evil shadow of the Hoshipon we favor. To summon beings of pure evil, Gong appears to help us fight against Makoton, whose rage has been exploited by the Carmen, and we also are fighting to free the great deity from the prison they made. We now hear of a legend from Medan, about a rainbow-colored world egg that has been broken by a Wakapon who was tempted by evil. With its shattering, the world shattered, and that's how the Patapons lost their country. Honestly, this story is not very memorable, and while I usually write most of my scripts from memory, I'm checking my recorded footage right now to continue writing. I'm also already starting to crack and release my conflicting feelings I'm trying to contain here, but I'll try to contain myself further a bit. Maiden is again doubting if what they're doing is the right thing, since a Zigoton woman was killed, although at first she was like, she deserved it, we gotta get to Earthend. And then, we fight some bosses, invade bases. I mean, honestly, this game doesn't need a wild storyline now that I think about it. I would be all fine with just improving the rhythm game where you control an army idea. Oh, then you meet Hoshipon and Black Hoshipon, and you actually can't beat the mission unless you stand still, which I actually find cool. I feel like making use of existing game mechanics in any way is interesting, even if it just wants you to stop. Oh no, not another Demon Gate, now with sleep darts? I wasn't a fan of this in the first game. Now a mission I just straight up couldn't beat, and my only choice was to hope for a rare metal to drop so I could unlock the bird class. That made it way easier. Hey, Patapon 1 final boss. Cool bird. Gotta stack up on ice stuff and fire resist. Worm boss again. Windmills again. Oh sweet, a sneaking mission. Oh, I failed it. Man, I don't want to wait out the dialogue again. Okay, don't tell anybody this, because I got the games, okay? My PSP still even works, and I'm gonna get my old save running later. But this game actually plays pretty nicely on an emulator, especially if you combine 2 unfinished texture packs and use upscaling for the rest. I played this whole game on my phone, and at one point even connected my right Joy-Con, and it just worked perfectly with one hand. So I'm using this secret button to speed things up, because at this point, I'm already getting kinda tired of this. Maybe these games aren't meant to be finished in 2 weeks, but I feel like this story is really just not grabbing me. I can't even recall what they're saying, but this is the mega bad guy this time, I guess. Is this game just nostalgia? No, it can't be. I already paid $40 for Ratatan, man. Okay, I'm again getting ahead of myself. This is not the time to talk about that yet. Oh hell yeah! Cooking minigame! This is legit so damn good. I absolutely love the level 3 of this minigame, it is so damn fun. The tree is fun too, but man, nothing beats the last sequence of cuts you have to make. At least the music is awesome as always, though I feel sometimes the beats are kinda hard to follow, especially when Hero goes into hero mode, but I might just suck. Luckily Patapon 2 is much easier. I lost fever mode so often in Patapon 1. Maiden wants to use the catapult. Damn it, now I gotta care about that one from baking again. And then she wandered off. Anyway, I chaka Patapon my way through their fortress with the catapult. Okay, yeah, Maiden's gone. Oh no, we have to avoid her from getting burnt again. I think I didn't mention the last time she got captured, but yeah, you can't use fire weapons in this. Dude, I'm just gonna take her out. I'm tired of this. Oh god. Damn, she feels like a trapped bird here. Being here must suck. Maybe the Patapons are just kinda lame after all. Like if she'd wanna talk to anyone, they're probably just gonna be like Earthend and Almighty is the greatest. But I guess she reaped what she sowed. I feel like this maiden figure, from a psychological point of view, is a sort of anima or soul, coming from Jung's psychology, which is the part of us that falls into the unconscious because we are forced to adapt a persona to exist among our species' society. The same way the persona is the function with which we relate to the collective on the outside, the anima plays the mediator for the inner world as well. I talk about that a bunch in my video on Over the Garden Wall if you are curious. But it seems a bit ironic here that the Patapons were those sort of dreamy figures, breaking free from the oppressive Sigatan civilization, only for Meren to end up feeling trapped here. It's almost like once the Patapons started wearing a mask with Hero, they got caught up in that limiting persona world as well. After all, persona literally means mask. This ship boss here is actually great. Okay, we heard this song before, and it's Black Hashipon again, and it's lots of defensive Chaka Chaka mixed in with some marching Pata Pata again. Oh, now we're getting more story. Okay, so apparently, I honestly couldn't keep track of this while playing, but Hero was tricked by Orman Carmen, who is this mega evil dude here, deceiving him that the princess is in danger and inside the egg. So he broke the egg, and even the Hashipon is like, it's your fault, because this unleashed a bunch of bad stuff. Hero got so ashamed that he started to wear a mask, which gave him powers and made him forget his memories. I think this story not being memorable is starting to make more sense now, but I'll crack that open not just yet, because it's final boss time. What the hell? I can't beat him at all. This sleep move is so random, I can't consistently dodge it. What am I supposed to do? Okay, I tried this boss now over and over and over with various army compositions. I must be missing something here. Do I have to grind and evolve my Patapons for this? Or grind for some better gear? I mean, the most I grinded for in Patapon 1 was Kaching, and that honestly was pretty relaxing. The easiest way I found to get it is by doing this one hunting mission, and I felt it was pretty okay to do. I mean, grinding isn't supposed to be hard, if it exists at all, in my opinion. But in Patapon 2, I'm not bottlenecked by Kaching, but by items, which means I'd have to fight bosses or enemies, or I guess do minigames. And I'm just not vibing with this idea of needing to grind and being able to fail if I don't pay enough attention. I feel like that doesn't match much. Anyway, I cheated a bit and looked it up, because I got tired of playing. I can't lie, at this point I'm really starting to worry about how little enjoyment I'm getting from this game. But okay, I now know I have to beat this other boss first to get the party song that wakes the army up from sleeping. I didn't bother doing all the mission because, like I said, I'm starting to feel tired and I just want to finish it up. Oh no. This boss has the weirdest moves I've ever seen and can instantly kill with some of them. I might just be getting really exhausted at this point, but this was a struggle for me. I couldn't get myself to focus enough to figure out all the moves at this point. Luckily, I managed to do it. And finally, I'm able to win this fight. Oh, nope. I suck. Come on, Mahopon here will save me now, I know it. Megapon? Freezing seems to be pretty effective, but I'm just throwing stuff at the wall to see if it sticks at this point. Finally. Time to set our eyes on it. This must be Earthend. Please, for the Danga's sake. This was all for you, my precious Patapons. Let's get to the end together. Wait, an egg? What's an egg here for? Why do they look at it like they want to attack it? I have to break it? Seems I got no choice, but that's kinda weird considering what we heard earlier. It must be in there, I guess. Again, we're being blinded, and it is a rainbow, and Huh? Man, I'm so tired of this. It's the princess, who had a nap. Alright. Oh, Hero. Now what? He saved Patapon, and up next, saves the world? Wait. Why would we want to ramp up the story even harder? After it feels like we haven't gotten to where we wanted to yet again? Why am I being teased like this? Alright, I'm speeding it up. Oh, they're building a bridge now. Right. So I guess that leads us into... Nope. I'm not playing Patapon 3. I know many of you like it, and that's totally fine, but I remember downloading that demo and thinking, what? No armies? But one of the most fun things about Patapon, I thought when I was eagerly waiting for it to come out 14 years ago, is when you build up your rhythm and you get into fever and every unit just goes crazy, arrows start shooting, raining it down on the enemies, numbers flying everywhere, bosses staggering from your overwhelming damage, and you're telling me this is not gonna happen anymore? Alright, I guess this is my Airfend then. For the sake of this video, I did research and watched the game to follow the story. And I mean, what can I say? This is even less memorable than what Patapon 2 did. Yet again, we're dealing with an even more comically absurd depiction of evil. And while it does have various storylines and characters to follow, I don't think any of this is trying to say something truly meaningful. Which is a shame, because the setup is just incredible. The Patapons still have to get to Earthend and gaze at it, whatever it is. And while it does try to end it like that, I don't think it manages to actually live up to the hype. Like I said earlier, to me, there's no reason it would even need such a story. It could just exist as a rhythm game where you can control an army, and improving on that would sell me by itself. But the story has such a special thing to it that it just can't live up to. And I think the fact that it can't is also reflected in the game not living up to the game design potential. I mean, come on. This is one of the earliest non-gacha games to introduce tiered loot boxes into it, which now is the bane of so many games today. Sure, it's not monetized in this sense, but it still is just a cheap way to offer depth and replayability in my view. These also existed in Patapon 2, but they really weren't present if you only played single player. I basically just stopped playing the egg missions after the first 2 days of playing. I will say though, the music, as always, is awesome, especially with the metal music mixed in. The art looks cool, but to me it seems just as bloated as the game design. The forced grinding into roguelite dungeons also doesn't seem very fun. I'm not gonna make this any more about the game design itself, since many others have already talked about this, but I'll try to share some thoughts and feelings on the story. I do think it starts out in a way that could potentially be promising. The idea of merging the hero with the almighty into the uber hero has something I think potentially very interesting. From a psychological point of view, you could say that the abstract spirit of the archetype of the self has now incarnated into a body, and in that sense, turned into an image of the almighty reflected into a character. I remember having this odd observation that there is a strange similarity between that happening and also them introducing metal music into this. Because you could say that this spirit entering the body is like electricity entering the guitar, and I found that pretty fascinating. But sadly, stuff doesn't seem to deliver. After building the bridge, the Patapons come upon a lock which they try to break into, because of course, it might be inside. Turns out this was Pandora's box, and unleashed was all kinds of chaos and evils. And last but not least, Hope itself, depicted here as Silver Hashipon, who has a beard, so he must be old and wise. There's a lot to the story in terms of how the characters, like the Archfiends and the various figures like Rage Wolf and Naughty Fins, interact with the hero, but I really have nothing important to add and would rather get to other parts that are on my mind. In my view, these are, like I mentioned, comical depictions of evil, especially in Miss Covetous, and considering the Akumapon, who didn't play any important role in Patapon 2, are now accompanied by another evil, the Bone Death, who also don't play any important role at all in the story, I don't think this is as nuanced as what the Patapon vs Sigaton story is, or it promises to be. Towards the end though, we see some patricide, and one of the characters going into their past, which is actually I think a great detail. Because after all, wearing the mask makes you forget your past. And really, I think considering that so many characters, even our own hero, have this, is in a way a good reflection of this overall being kinda meaningless. Because our existence is haunted by emotions coming from the past, from trauma, pain, anger, shame, that we all would like to forget, but trying to do so really leads nowhere. It just leaves you empty and with nothing, which I think is the worst way to feel. And speaking of that, we might just as well jump into the ending at this point. Silver Hashipon is spamming us with some wordy philosophical nonsense about truth, and we are shown this strange alien depiction of Earthend without any elaboration, only to be completely blinded by a false hope of heaven. I mean, we could have expected that this is kinda what they wanted, but are they really there? What's with all the others? I mean, we sacrificed our soul for the Patapon to come back alive after being turned into stone, but what is this supposed to conclude? It feels like a total cop-out, and really, it's just a repeat of Patapon 1 and 2. Patapon 1 can be excused, since it really felt so much like an initial prototype of a game, but Patapon 2 really shows all the signs for this disappointment. Considering we break the egg at the end, I think the meaning of this is pretty obvious. The story tried to conclude itself too early. A creative idea of a story, born in our psyche, really can only slowly come alive in its fullness. Like brooding an egg, we have to warm the unconscious depths of our personality, and whatever is trying to be born in our soul can only come alive by very slowly warming it with the light of our conscious attention. And breaking into it too early can only lead to disappointment. The fact that Hiro was ashamed of breaking the egg, and in turn putting on the mask to forget his memory and painful shame of it, is also spelling out the downfall of how this goes. It is extremely petrifying to our personality when we try to live an existence where we forget what has happened and ignore all the negative things. It is vital to remember the pangs in our conscience, the guilt we feel, because this guilt is really the transformative agent in our personality, and taking on this pain consciously allows us to grow as a person. All these masked characters just exist in some denial of what is real. And the Silver Hoshipon is just expressing an abstraction of truth by someone who hasn't experienced it, but needs to invent some intellectual humbug to defend himself from the truth that can't be attained because of this internal denial. I don't really want to turn this any more into a moral lesson than it already is, but isn't it interesting that the Patapons got petrified into stone when the chaos of reality got released from Pandora's box? Curiosity automatically leads us to truth, and of course because of that, destroys our illusions, which is a painful experience. Yet it is so important, because beneath all the painful things we want to deny is actually the thing we always longed for. In there is it, in my experience. The pain is just in the way, because that's the feeling of us having been robbed by what we originally already had and now want to find again. The game ends by the Uber hero offering his soul to bring the Patapons alive again. And this also just seemed like an attempt to avoid the responsibility of dealing with the emotions in our heart and soul. Sacrificing yourself for a collective end goal just annihilates your actual role in this world as an individual. And if anything should be sacrificed, it is your energy invested into trying to live your own hypothesis to the very end, even if the heroic ideal you try to pursue ends up clashing with reality and revealing your illusions. There's nothing noble about foolishly avoiding the pain of following your own wishes by sacrificing yourself for others. Still running. Bunch of saves. Damn, that sound. Where's my main one? Okay, so 39 hours. If you look at the bosses that I beat, you'd think that I would kind of level them all, but no, I really just, I got them to a 4 or 5. But for some reason, I only played... Wait, why is it called a Great Dinosaur? Oh, this is like the snow version. Yeah, but anyway, I don't understand why I only leveled this one to level 46, and I didn't level any of the other ones in any significant way. That's I don't know why I did that. Why was I so obsessed with Dodonga? I don't get it. The best I got in my other playthrough was just Heaven Staff. Heaven Staff from like all the units. Oh, did anybody ever use Brimstone and Duck and Cover? I've never used these. Also, I don't know. I don't think I got this one in the other one. Yeah, I don't think there's much more to show. Oh, maybe the trees. Oh damn! I just leveled this guy a lot. Alright, I think that's all. It's crazy to me that this still runs. This is so old. It's crazy. To conclude this, I love this unique game and genre, and I'm extremely happy it exists and was part of my childhood. But I'm also happy I never got lured into Patapon 3. The first game is in my opinion the most solid one. There wasn't really any moment that felt like a slog to go through, and it always felt like there was some new possibility to unlock in order to progress. The kaching grinding was a bit harsh, but it was totally not necessary for progression in any overwhelming manner. And like I said, I actually like the relaxing hunting missions where you're not really forced to be in fever mode and can just simply stop playing for a moment, and aren't at a big risk of failing the mission and losing all your progress. The only time I got stuck was when I was trying to progress a bit too quickly, and I noticed that I skipped over getting the plant minigame, which would allow me to play the cooking minigame and give me enough power to complete the following missions much more easily. I feel like it wasn't something annoying to have to do, compared to Patapon 2 where I had to beat Tadanga for the flying Patapon, or where I had to beat the crab for the party command to beat the final boss. These just kinda felt shoved into the picture. And honestly, while the evolution of Patapons with the Ratatan 3 does have its advantages, I kinda enjoy just investing into some new one, without knowing exactly what it would even do in Patapon 1. The permadeath was kinda harsh, but at the same time, it isn't like you were completely useless after one of them died, compared to you being really impaired if you never learned the party command. I think you can beat the final boss without it, but it would just take a lot of grinding as the other option. I played Patapon 2 a lot more as a kid, simply because it had so much more to offer, and I don't regret it. I think it is a much more polished version of the game, despite it lacking in the main storyline. I just feel there's so much more potential to bring out of this game, but I'm not a game designer, so I'm not sure what that could be. It just felt like they went for the cheaper routes to make the game be extended in playtime, and considering the direction Patapon 3 went, I think that's pretty obvious. I'm not saying it's not cool and you can't replace that feeling of having an army charge into battle with a few cooler looking units, but it just didn't hit that spot for me. In the end, the thing I'm let down by the most is how this game gives you a strong wind, an uplifting hope, with the simple yet super impactful story it tries to tell, but ends up just falling super short, and I legit don't even want to read this text from the old wannabe wise man at the end. All I know is this isn't real hope and evil, or hope and despair that is being talked about. With all that being said, we are now waiting the next chapter of this game in a spiritual successor with Ratatan. When the Kickstarter launched, I was immediately sold and bought it for $40. I watched the trailer many times and I listened to the music quite a bit. And I mean, come on, a stretch goal to include David Wise? How could I not support this? It seems to go into the roguelite direction like Patapon 3 does, and also focuses on these characters, which I mean, I'm not saying it can't work. I love roguelikes. I got over 200 hours in Risk of Rain 2 alone, but I really hope this won't be as cheap as Patapon 3. Well, I mean, I guess this is part of it. I'm kind of confused looking at it, to be honest. But at the same time, I'm just happy they're making something. I mean, at worst, I just paid $40 for a good album. It might be a bit expensive, but oh well. I don't really have much to say about it. Game design early on looks very rough, and I just hope they can get to their April release date. And if not, have the courage to delay it. I know that might be controversial since it's funded with a Kickstarter, but I really feel like I can easily wait for this game to come out. Especially for it to be finally as promising as seeing it at Earthend can be. It's already been so long since Patapon 3, which I didn't even play, so I'm really not against them waiting if it means the game could be truly finalized. I'm saying this as a small investor into it, so maybe this opinion counts. Oh, also, I forgot to mention this in the script, but I try to do this project outside. I try to go on walks every day and play the game, on the go. But on the first day, I end up getting sunburnt, and well, that ended it pretty much. I didn't get a sunburn for like 15 years, so this was actually a really stupid mistake by me. But it almost is something interesting. It's sort of, to me, kind of mirrors the whole thing about, setting up a false hope, and it's just sort of not going the way you thought it would, or you hoped it would. But I got a bunch of nice footage which I'm gonna leave in the background here. Alright, I think that's it. I'm just looking at Ratatan with anxious hopes for it to finally deliver that game that Patapon 1 instilled deep into my heart. And it is totally unexpected to me that this is still the game that provides this genre of rhythm game where you can control an army after all these years. But like I said, I can wait, and I just hope Ratatan can deliver, whenever that might be. I mean, I'm literally waiting for other games like Ashes of Creation, which I didn't even have any money invested into, and my most optimistic guess for its 1.0 release is 2028, so please take your time with Ratatan. I am patient. I never played multiplayer either, and as much as Patapon 3 doesn't convince me, I think it could be fun. I just imagine joining a lobby with people and having fun playing music with them. But I really hope there will be a story in this that can deliver. If it's just some roguelite gameplay, that's okay too, in all honesty. If it's just that, I would rather have no deep storyline at all. But if they do include a storyline, Man, I hope to see it at Earthend. Or I mean, have them meet their goddess at the end. I just hope that this time, after going through some labor pains, the egg will be left to hatch on its own.